Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So in this video, I'm going to take a political compass quiz, and I know I apologize that I haven't got back to the Mitch Albom's Five Poopy Me in Heaven book yet. I will do that. I will do that. Not tonight, but tomorrow night. I promise I'll get back to that. I want to do, I believe it's part 4 I got to do. But, yeah. So anyway, I took this political compass quiz earlier, and it's not the one with the grid. It's one that gives you, like, percentages of each category, and it tells you like where your stances are on it. But anyway, I got social liberal, but I'm not a liberal. I'm a libertarian. So this quiz might be kind of misleading, but I want to do it again live on YouTube, so I see what my results are, and so you see what my results are. Because because my friend Hoberger did this, and he got libertarian socialist, and I know definitely that's what he isn't. He got the same results. I want to see if I get the same. So, oh, that has to be up. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to present this to everyone. Now, I linked this quiz in the description box below if you want to take it yourself. But if you're looking at equality, nation, liberty, tradition, market, world, authority, progress, if you never took a political compass quiz before, this is probably one of the best ones to take, in my opinion, because it gives you the definitions of everything right here. And if you're just getting into politics, these are great definitions to have in your arsenal. Okay, there's 70 questions here. You will be presented with a series of statements. For each one, click the button with your opinion on it. Got it. Okay. Question 1 of 70. Oppression by corporations is more of a concern than oppression by governments. Okay, let's talk through this one first. This is kind of a stupid statement to have. I'll tell you why. Because due to the government adding in affirmative action and stuff like that, nobody based on gender or race can be discriminated legally by a corporation. And so when they phrase this, now here's the thing. When a strong conservative will say strongly disagree or disagree, a strong liberal would say agree or strongly agree. And in my opinion, my honest opinion, unsure really, because you hardly see corporational discrimination, you hardly see government discrimination. And if you do, it's dealt with right away. Okay, question 2. It is necessary for the government to intervene in the economy to protect the consumers. Okay, I'm going to disagree with this one. And I'll tell you why I disagreed with the last one. Because it follows this: the freer market, the freer the people. Yes, I agree with that. Because if the government is basically intervening with what you like to buy, you're not really going to have a market ran by the people. You're going to have a market ran by the government. The government should have any say in the market is when it comes to me and anything that we consume. That's when the government should have, the FDA and all those companies investigate what's in the food, what's in the meat, so on and so forth. But when it just comes to, shopping as individuals, no, the government should not intervene when it comes to the economics of the market, because it just becomes authoritative then. If you look at socialist countries or communistic countries, you'll understand what I mean. It's better to maintain a balanced budget than to ensure the welfare citizens. Now, this is another tricky stance, because if you're maintaining the budget, you're not really ensuring a welfare for all the citizens. But if you're ensuring a welfare for all the citizens, you're not really maintaining a balanced budget. A strong conservative will say, strongly disagree. Strong liberal would say, strongly agree, or vice versa. And for me, it's a neutral. I'm unsure about that, because it's tricky. There. Publicly funded research is more beneficial to the people than leaving it to the market. This is, in this case, the market is the government and the people is, the people. Well, the people work for the government, so therefore they're in the market for publicly funded information. But yet at the same time, the people are, new information every day without the market telling them the information. So this is kind of tricky, because if I agree to this, meaning that the market can't know any information, but if I disagree with it, I'm saying that the people have no right to information. So it's a neutral. It's a neutral stance. Trade is beneficial. Okay. I disagree here. International trade can be beneficial, but is it beneficial altogether? Not really, because internationally with other countries are making a profit. But if you're trading within your own country, you're making money for your own nation. So I'm going to disagree with this one. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Strongly agree. If you work hard, you get a good pay. If you don't work at all, you get nothing. That's how life works. It would be best if social programs were abolished in favor of private charity. Okay, here's where I take more of a liberal position when it comes to something like this. Now, I think social programs are important to have. There are people who cannot work, so they get disability. I'm talking about able-bodied people. The last one, I'm not talking about people that have disabilities. No, they get disability paychecks. But I'm talking about those who are able to work. And don't have any disabilities whatsoever. But in this case, would it be best if social programs were abolished in favor of private charity? No, I disagree here. Taxes should be increased on the rich to provide for the poor. Another tricky one, because here's the thing. If you increase the taxes on the rich, everything in goods and services go up. But if you increase the taxes on the poor, the rich only get richer. So I'm unsure here. I really am. Inheritance is a legitimate form of wealth. Agree, it is. If you get, let's just say, $35,000 from your parent, that if they recently passed away and they left $35 in your name, no, $35,000 in your name, that's inheritance. So yes, that is a legitimate form of wealth. Public utilities like roads and electricity should be publicly owned. Well, some of them are. Truth be told, some of them are. Some of them are publicly owned, but most of them are owned by the government. Neutral. Excessive government intervention is a threat to the economy. Agree. Yeah, I don't always trust Congress when it comes to fixing the economy. I don't. Sometimes they make things a lot worse than they already are. Those with a greater ability to pay should receive better health care. I'm in favor of single-payer health care. You're not going to hear most libertarians say that, but I am. I am in favor of single-payer health care. But here's the problem. This is a privilege. Healthcare is a privilege. Even if we have single-payer healthcare, that is a privilege to have. But here's the thing, though. Those with greater ability to pay should receive better healthcare. If you have the money to pay for the best healthcare out there, yes, you should receive better healthcare. A quality education is a right right of all people. Strongly agree. Even Thomas Jefferson started public education for all. The means of production should belong to the workers who use them. Agree. That's why we have unions. The United Nations should be abolished. Okay, here's my beef with the United Nations. I did a video on my YouTube channel called Unpopular Opinions, and one of them is that we should get rid of the United Nations because it's done nothing within the last 30 years that was of any importance. And the United Nations is nothing but where all the power-hungry representatives of all nations get together and bullshit just like Congress. The United Nations makes things worse for, you know, the world, because the United Nations was needed at one time, but now it isn't really needed anymore, because if we got rid of the United Nations, countries wouldn't have all these terrorist attacks. That's a broad statement, but it's mostly true. Should allies help allies? Yes. But is the United Nations needed? Not really. I would agree to this. Military action by our nation is often necessary to protect it. I agree. I support regional unions such as the European Union. Okay, here's the problem with the European Union. They have too much open borders, and if you look in Europe right now, they don't need open borders. They need semi-open, semi-closed borders like here in America. They need border security. I'm unsure here. I mean, in some ways, the European Union is good. In some ways, it's not beneficial. It is important to maintain our national sovereignty. Yes, I agree. A united world government would be beneficial to mankind. Disagree. Because if we did that, let's just say if China conquered the whole world, we would have to live under a Chinese regime. If, God forbid, the Middle East got control of the world, we would have to live under Sharia law. If Britain got control of the world, we would have to live under a monarchy. And so one government for the whole world would not be beneficial whatsoever. Increase the number of terrorist attacks. It is more important to retain peaceful relations than further our strength. Wars do not need to be justified to other countries. Disagree. They need to be justified. Because I think if you go against the Geneva Convention, which was put in place towards the end of World War II, you're breaking the law. Spending is a waste of money. I'm neutral there because we spend entirely too much on the military, but at the same time, we need to our military. International aid is a waste of money. Neutral. Because some countries we give entirely too much money to that we don't need to give money to, but at the same time, there are nations that are in desperate need of money. Give them money. And this is why I'm not in favor of eliminating all aid. My nation is great. Neutral. I'm being honest. America hasn't done a lot of things that we can toot about, which is great. I mean, the Japanese internment camps. I mean, what else did we do? The A bomb on Hiroshima, even though the Japanese army was a week away from surrendering to the United States. We're a great country in the sense that we have a democracy, but we're not great in the sense of we're never flawless. So America's a neutral country. It does great things and it does some bad things. Research should be conducted on a national scale. I agree with that, especially when it comes to global warming. Government should be accountable to the international community. Disagree. Even when protesting an authoritarian government, violence is not acceptable. Disagree with this one, and I'll tell you why. Democracy in America. We have a democracy in Canada. And both Canada and the United States are under a democracy. And a democracy in the Western world, how do I put it? The people have a say who goes into office. But in an authoritarian government, the people have no say. So in that case, violence is acceptable because you're rioting to create a democratic society where you do have a say. So in this case, I disagree. Violence is acceptable under an authoritarian government. My religious values should be spread as much as possible. Look, if you're religious, great, but don't force it upon other people. Nation's values should be spread as much as possible. Disagree. Because if you try to push your country's values upon another country, you're going to destabilize that country. It's very important to maintain law and order. Strongly agree. The general populace makes poor decisions. The public makes poor decisions in general. I agree with that. Just look what happens in America. The public does make poor decisions. Victimless crimes such as drug use should not at all be crimes at all. Strongly agree. And the sacrifice of some civil liberties is necessary to protect us from acts of terrorism. No, we have the right to from unnecessary search and seizure. So we should have the right. So therefore, we should not sacrifice our right to privacy to wipe off a few bad apples off the face of the earth. Government surveillance is necessary in the modern world. Disagree. If the governments of the nations didn't spy on each other, there would be significantly less terrorist attacks, and there would significantly be more world peace because governments aren't interfering with other governments. But the only time we should interfere is when there is unjustifiable injustice in the world. That's when war is acceptable, when there's injustice that is unjustifiable. No injustice is justifiable at all. And the very existence of the state is a threat to our liberty. Neutral. We do need a government, but at the same time, if the government has too much power, I'm sorry, your rights get slowly taken away from you. Slowly taken away. Regardless of political opinions, it is important to side with your country. Strongly agree. No authority should be left unquestioned. Strongly agree. Hierarchical state is the best. Let's look up hierarchy. Let's look up the definition. System of organizations in which people or groups are ranked one above the other according to status or authority. That's what hierarchical society is. In that case, I disagree. Because when you have a hierarchical society, you're expected to live by a certain set of rules. Don't get me wrong, every country should have law and order, but if you're, okay, let's say the Republicans are in power now, right? So if we lived under a hierarchical society in this country, which thank God we don't, that means in some cases, you know, segregation would have to be legal again. Now, we don't want that to happen. If we lived under a hierarchical society, the LGBT community might be in danger, and I'm part of that community. But the point being is that whoever's in power, you have to live by their rules, and I don't agree with hierarchical societies whatsoever. I agree with a democratic society where you're allowed to make the choices you want to make. It is important that the government follows the majority opinion, even if it's wrong. Disagree. The stronger the leadership, the better. Agree. Democracy is more than a decision-making process. Strongly agree. Environmental regulations are essential. Agree. I don't care what your political party is. I don't care if you're Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, Republican, Socialist, whatever. Global warming's a problem. We all have to get on that same boat together and find out how to slow the process down. A better world will come from automation, science, and technology. Neutral. You even have scientists that say technology can be dangerous in the wrong hands. Children should be educated in religious or traditional values. Neutral. We have the choice in America where your kids could either go to a public school, a religious school, or a private school. You have the choice of what you want your kid to be taught in. So I'm neutral on that one. Traditions are of no value on their own. Agree. I'll tell you why I agree with that. Because someone's traditions is different from someone else's. Like the American tradition to celebrate Independence Day on July 4th, that's our tradition. But our tradition is not the same as Mexico's Independence Day or Russia's Independence Day, so on and so forth. Um, like, I have traditions, and you might have different ones. So they have no value, but they have value to us. That's just a realistic view. Religion should play a role in government. Strongly disagree. Churches should be taxed the same way other institutions are taxed. Strongly agree. Climate change is currently one of the greatest threats to our way of life. Strongly agree. It is more important that we work as a united world to combat climate change. Strongly agree. Society was better many years ago than is now. Disagree. Important that we maintain the traditions of our past. Neutral. Depends on the traditions. It is important that we think in the long term beyond our lifespan. Agree. Reason is more important than maintaining our culture. Agree. Drug use should be legalized and decriminalized. Strongly agree. Same-sex marriage should be legal. Agree. No culture are superior to others. Agree. Sex outside marriage is immoral. Disagree. If we accept migrants at all, it is important that they assimilate into our culture. Assimilate, for those who don't know, is that they adopt the American way of life. I agree with that. Abortion should be prohibited in most or all cases. Okay, here's the thing. I'm against abortion. I don't agree with it. I can see it being a viable option if a woman is raped or her life is going to be harmed by a pregnancy. But other than that, I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong. That's just my opinion. And that's science's opinion too. Life begins at conception. I should say 6 weeks after conception. That's when the heartbeat starts to form. But that's just my opinion. But do I want to make abortion illegal? No. So neutral. Because if you make abortion illegal, you're going to have black market abortions, and that's going to harm women more than safe abortions. Gun ownership should be prohibited to those without a valid reason. Disagree. If you want to have a gun for target practice, that's a valid reason. I support single-payer health care insurance. Agree. Prostitution should be illegal. Disagree. Family values is essential. Neutral. My family values might be different from yours. Space progress at all costs is dangerous. Genetic modification is a force for good, even on humans. We should open our borders to immigrants. Neutral. We do and we don't, depending on the situation. Governments should be as concerned about foreign citizens as they are those within their borders. All people, regardless of factors like culture or sex, should be treated equally. Strongly agree. That we further above all others. Let's see where I stand. I still got social liberalism, even though I'm not a liberal. Libertarian. Anyway, but as you can see, definitely more, laissez-faire capitalist, but at the same time, I am capitalist. I know that anarcho-capitalism doesn't really, doesn't always work at all sometimes. When it comes to taxes, as you can see, I'm very pro-liberty here. And authority, on societal axis, then traditional. That's the quiz. I said, if you want to take it, it is in the description box below. Keep in mind, you may not get political philosophy results for the second time. But this is a fun quiz to take. But at the same time, it is where position stand, not what your results say you are. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tomorrow night, where I continue Me in Heaven. And sorry, I've been stalling on that.